that I will be covering throughout the series, that is entomology, right? Entomology, as we all know, as a basic science subject, we all know that it deals with the study of the insects, right? Study of the insects, right? So what is the first thing that comes into mind when we say insect, right? In general terms, we use insect for say a grasshopper or a butterfly or a moth, right? If I write these names here, butterfly, right, or a grasshopper, right, or say termite, right, and moths. These are basically insects, right? A grasshopper, a butterfly, a common one that is housefly, right? Everybody has seen it, or an irritating one like a mosquito, right? We use the terms insect for these particular creatures, right? But how do we distinguish between them? How do we distinguish between a housefly and a mosquito, or a butterfly and a moth, or a grasshopper and a cricketer? A cricketer, a small creature who makes a creaking sound in the night, right? So these are of course these are insects, but how to divide them into different categories and how to study them? What are beneficial insects? What are the harmful insects? What are the needs to study these insects? And what are the future regarding control of these insects, or the use of these insects for our own benefits? That whole branch of science is called entomology. Now, entomology is a term derived from a Greek term, right? The Greek term says temno. In temno, entomology has a inclusion of a word called temno, right? Temno means to cut into, right? Or if I say insect, right? Insect also is the full word of insect is actually insectum, right? Insectum, right? This also means to cut into. To cut into. Now, what to cut into? What does this word mean? To cut into. It only simply means that the insect which falls in the category of which falls in the category of the class of insecta, right? They all can be divided into or cut into, right? So, an insect is a creature, right, which can be divided into parts, right? And specifically, it can be divided into 3 parts, right? Now, if I have to write, if I have to say, what are the basic criteria to become an insect? So, suppose I am writing the basic criteria for being an insect, right? Insect, right? What is the basic criteria of being an insect? How you as a layman, if you see a particular creature moving in your room and saying that this is particularly an insect, it is not something else, it is an insect. What are the criteria for that? As a science student, there are certain features that a particular creature should have, right? So that it can belong to that insect category. Because insects as such is a class. Insect as such is a class which belongs to a bigger phylum called Arthropoda, right? Insect actually, basically, insects are basically a class, right? Class, right? This class is called Insecta, right? All the insect belongs to this class, but this class belongs to a phylum, and that phylum is Arthropoda. Now you must have heard this name, Arthropoda. Arthropoda is a phylum, is one of the biggest phylum available on the earth's surface, right? Arthropoda is available everywhere, in the sea, on the land, on the desert, even on the poles, on the colder regions also. Everywhere arthropodas are available. So there is a phylum called Arthropoda, right? Arthro also, if I divide this word or dissect this particular word arthropoda into two, it will be like this. See, ortho and poda. Ortho means jointed or joint, and poda means legs, right? Arthropoda. Now, by the name it is clear that all the arthropods, maybe it's a jellyfish, maybe it's a fly, right? Maybe it's a termite, maybe it's a silverfish, right? Anything belonging to this particular category will have certain features that will allow them to be in Arthropoda phylum, right? Joint phylum. Now, joint means appendages on the body where the legs or wings are attached to a particular creature. You must have seen the grasshopper. Grasshopper has what? Basically, they have appendages for wing, right? Appendages for legs also, right? Antenna also sometimes. Some cockroaches have antenna, right? These are the basic feature, right? Which allows them to be categorized into a particular phylum or into a particular class called Insecta. Now, this Insecta is also called Hexapoda. Hexapoda, right? Arthropoda means jointed legs, right? Which have joint legs. Hexapoda means which have 6 legs. Hexa means 6, no? 6 legs. 6 plus legs. So all the creatures who comes in Arthropoda which have 6 legs, they will be categorized into Insecta. Apart from some exceptions, but generally speaking, all the creatures which have 6 legs. Now you take a grasshopper and count its leg, you will find 6 legs. Okay, so that will belong to the class Insecta. Now Insecta, again I am saying, Insecta is a class which belongs to the phylum Arthropoda. Insecta are also called Hexapoda because they have 3 pairs of legs. 3 pairs means 6 legs, right? Then, because Arthropoda is a big class, right? Arthropoda has different classes. Like Chilopoda is there, like centipede. If I take the example of a centipede, centipede has many legs, right? But a grasshopper has only 6 legs. That here comes the categorization that centipede is a arthropod. Centipede is an arthropod, but it is not an insect, right? It does not belong to class Insecta, right? So centipede has many legs. Grasshopper has only 6 legs, right? According to the presence of legs or presence of wings or presence of mouth structure, the categorization of certain insects are done into different classes, right? One of the classes Insecta, which has certain features which I will discuss, that what are those features, right? Because arthropod as such is one of the biggest phylum which contains a lot of examples. If I start presenting lecture on arthropod, it will take at least 4 or 5 lectures to complete the full arthropods, right? But we will restrict to the particular class of arthropod called Insecta, right? We all know the classification way, how to classify certain animals or plants. Like there is one thing called phylum, then there is say class, then there is say order, then say family, right? Then we say genus, and then we say species, right? Right? If we go up, it is more inclusive, right? More characters you will find in phylum. Then coming down narrowly to this species level, you will have very specific characters coming down, right? This is more exclusive, this is more inclusive, right? When we go up in this classification, you will find that phylum will have more features, but when you go down, you will find specific features, right? This is how plants and animals are characterized or classified, right? So, an insect has a phylum. It's basically, if you think about it, it's like a folder in your computer. In a folder, you have a file. Then in that file, you have again one more file, and again in that file, you have one more another file. A file into file into file, right? This is how a categorization or classification of the particular insect or any of the plant or animal can be done. So, for an insect to be called an insect, the phylum should be Arthropoda. Arthropoda will be phylum. Class will be Insecta. Right? Now, Insecta also has different features, according to which it is divided further into orders. There are 29 different orders, right? 29 different orders in which insects are categorized according to the different properties or features an insect shows. Like if I give you a house fly and a butterfly, they are different, right? If I keep these two things together, you will, by your naked eye, you can say that if a house fly and a butterfly are different. Butterfly has big feathers, colored feathers, right? But a house fly has transparent feathers. House fly is small, butterfly is big, right? Butterfly has antenna, but house flies sometimes have antenna, or sometimes they don't. They don't have antenna, right? There are basic differences in the presence of their feather or say wing, right? Sometimes, suppose a grasshopper, it has two pairs of wings, but a house fly only has one pair of wings, right? So, according to the presence of wings, according to the presence of say presence of wing, or if I say other features are size, then mouth structure. If I am using a very rough term, mouth structure, but that particular structure of the mouth, right, by which an insect eats or sucks, right, or cuts, right, according to these things, different orders of class Insecta have been made, which we will discuss in the coming lectures, right? So there are 29 orders of insect. Now these orders are also according to the certain other properties, right, which we will discuss. But now, for now, the first and foremost thing is, what are the basic criteria to be an insect? I said to you that insectum means to cut into, right? Cut into. An insect can be divided into parts. For an insect to be called insect, it has to be divided into three parts, called head plus thorax plus abdomen. Now, if a particular creature of arthropod phylum can be divided into these three parts, that will automatically belong to the class Insecta. Say, see this particular figure. I don't know which insect is this. Nobody knows which insect is this. Now, if you try to classify this insect into Insecta, we will first see the first priority, the first thing, that is, can this insect be divided into three parts, head, thorax and abdomen? Yes, it can be. See here, this is the head part, right, and this is the thorax part, and this part is called abdomen, right? Abdomen part. So this first criteria is complete. Now, if I have to write it here, then first criteria is it should be having head, thorax, and abdomen. Three part, right? Three parts. Second criteria should be the legs. There should be three pairs of legs, right? Three pairs of legs. Three pairs means 6 legs. 6 legs. I told you in the beginning that they are also called hexapoda, right? Hexapoda, right? They should have 3 pairs of legs, that is, 6 legs, that is hexapoda. Apart from it, an insect should have one more property, that is, it should have 2 pairs of wing, right? 2 pairs of wing. Now, 2 pairs of wings, sometimes in the insects, exceptionally, they are not present, or say they are present, but due to the evolution, they have no work, like in housefly. Housefly is an insect, right? But it belongs to a particular order. It belongs to a particular order called Diaptera, right? Housefly, the normal fly in the house that is present, is a particular insect that belongs to this particular order called Diaptera. Di means 2 and Ptera means wings, right? Here I am writing that insects should have 2 pairs of wing at least, right, to belong to insecta. But here in the same stretch, I am also saying to you that some of the insects are there which they don't have 2 pairs of wing. They are called Diaptera, normal housefly, right? Normal housefly doesn't have 2 pairs of wings, but their hind wing, that is 2 pairs of wings, means 4 wings, right? 4 wings. These 4 wings are, say, 2 are 4 wings and plus 2 hind wings. In case of housefly, only 2 wings are present, but the other 2 wings, the hind wings, they are not adapted to flying. They are present there, right? But they are called halters, right? We will discuss these things in detail when we discuss the classification. But for now, you should know that an insect should have 3 parts of body: head, thorax, and abdomen, like that. They should have 3 pairs of leg. 3 pairs of leg. 1 pair of leg, 2 pair of leg, 3 pair of leg, right? Right? You can see 3 only, but other side also you will have 3, right? So, a 3 pair of legs, right? They should have 3 pairs of legs. Then they should have 2 pairs of wing, and those wings should be on the thorax region, right? Legs and wings both develop from the thorax region, this region, right? Suppose if I have to draw a particular wing structure on this one, right? Here and suppose here, right? 2 wings are there, right? 2 pair of wings are there, right? So 2 pairs of wings should be there. Then 4th criteria is metamorphosis. Normally this particular feature is present in all the arthropods, but it is specifically said here for insects, the metamorphosis, changing of the size, different sizes of structures are present throughout the life cycle. If you see a butterfly, right, it has different life cycles. It has a egg stage, right, then larval stage, then pupal stage, then adult stage, right? This is how a butterfly grows, right? Egg stage, larval stage, pupal stage, and adult stage. This is how a particular butterfly grows, right? So metamorphosis, these step-by-step changing of the structure of a particular insect throughout the life cycle is called metamorphosis, right? And this metamorphosis or changing of the structure is allowed in these insects due to a very important thing called exoskeleton. Presence of exoskeleton is also very important feature of class Insecta. Now you will say, what is exoskeleton? Right? Exo means outer side. Skeleton means the body structure, the solid body structure on which a particular person or particular creature is taking a shape. Like for us human beings, if suppose I am an insect, right? So this is my head, this is my thorax, this is my abdomen, right? But I don't have a exoskeleton. I have an endoskeleton, right? The bones are inside. But for this particular class or for phylum of Arthropoda, the skeleton is outside. It develops outside. That is called exoskeleton. And exoskeleton is always, it is made up of a polysaccharide called chitin, right? Chitin. Chitin with the chitin is made up of a polysaccharide called NAG, N-acetyl glucosamine, right? N-acetyl glucosamine, they react with each other, right? And they react with each other and make this whole chitinous structure outside the body of the a particular insect, right? And this outer structure provides not only a particular shape to a insect, but also provides safety, right? Exoskeleton provides safety. Sometimes it is very hard structure. If you see certain insects in deserts, right, in semi-arid and arid regions, you will find that the outer surface, this surface is very hard on them. Even the small insects, if you try to break them, you cannot break them. Or if you will break it, it will completely break like a walnut, right? This happens because this chitinous layer, the cuticle layer, right? Cuticle layer, right, becomes very solid outside. By interacting with certain proteins, it becomes an insoluble structure outside, which provides say a very helping hand in hard conditions, right? To save the water inside the insect, it covers it with sometimes with a very hard kind of structure, and this process of making the outer structure very hard is called sclerotization, right? The process of making the outer surface very hard is called sclerotization, right? So exoskeleton, presence of exoskeleton is also a very important feature of Insecta, and exoskeleton is made up of chitin, right? The internal epidermal cells secrete certain certain kind of secretion is done, which makes the outer layer, which is made up of chitin, right? It's a cuticle layer that provides the exoskeleton. Now, this exoskeleton not only provides the safe from the desiccation, but also it helps the certain insects to take the weight more than their body, like ants, right? Ants can take the weight 50 times more than their body. How? Because the internal body structure is associated with the exoskeleton, and that provides a leverage, right? right? So that they can take up the higher weight, more than 50 times weight, and an ant can take up as compared to the other creatures. So exoskeleton is also a very important feature of a insect. Apart from this, one more thing is presence of pair of antennae. Pair of antennae. A pair of antennae should be present here. See, one is here, one more is other side, right? A pair of antennae, right? Pair of antennae. Right? This should also be a criteria for being an insect. Now, in a nutshell, if I have to say that you have to categorize a particular insect, if I give you a certain, say, ladybug, or a housefly, or a grasshopper, or a cricketer, how you will differentiate with this? You will say, check certain things. One is, see if the body is grooved or divided into three parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. Tick. If it is correct, it is present, it is an insect. If there are three pairs of legs present there, 1, 2, 3, right? This is an insect. If two pairs of wings are present there on the thorax region, right? True wings are always present on the thorax region, not on the abdominal region. There are certain insects in which wings are present on abdominal regions also, but those are not true wings, right? So if an insect has wings on the thorax region, two pairs of wing, that comes into the insect class. Then metamorphosis, it is showing, right? Then it is a insect. And exoskeleton is present, right? Outer exoskeleton is present. That also is a criteria for an insect. And apart from that, presence of a pair of antennae, right? And one more thing is there, the seventh one. Compound eye. See this one here. Compound eye, right? Presence of compound eye is also a prerequisite to be the class of which belongs to insecta class, right? Insecta has a compound eye. Compound eyes, a pair of compound eyes. That means the compound eyes are those eyes which are not a single eye but are made up of many different lenses and photoreceptor units, right? Many different small photoreceptors and lens, right? They make the compound eye. It's not a single eye but is made up of multiple units of lenses and photoreceptors. So presence of compound eye is also a criteria for being a insect. But the first and foremost thing is the body part can be divided into three parts. Take this example of spider. Spider and grasshopper are different. Although spider and grasshopper both belong to arthropods, but spider has four pairs of legs, right? That means 8 legs. But a grasshopper has 3 pairs of legs. That is 6 legs, right? The body part in spider is divided into 2 only. But in case of insect, it is divided. In case of grasshopper, it is divided into head, thorax, and abdomen. Right? This is how we categorize different kinds of insects. Right? Now, the next question that arises is that after discussing certain features of insects, certain basic features why an insect should be called insect, the next and the basic question that arises is why there is a need to study this branch of science called entomology. Why to study insects? Insects, as I told you, are immense, right? Different varieties of insects are available everywhere, and they are studied for their diversity, right? They are studied for the evolution purposes also, genetical purposes also. Their parasitic or predatory nature also is being studied, right? Then sometimes they are very productive also, right? So there are certain features for which entomology is being say studied. One of them is there, say genetic evolution studies. Right? You must have heard about a certain fly called fruit fly, right? Fruit fly. Fruit fly, right? Fruit fly or Drosophila melanogaster is a fly which is being studied extensively, right? For genetic evolution studies and for psychological studies also, right? So this particular fly is very useful for studying. So this branch of science, genetic evolution studies, uses the studies of insect in thorough at the thorough level. Then predation by insect. Certain insects, insects are not always a bad thing, right? So there are certain insects which can cause harm, but insects have certain good properties and bad properties. Certain insects are predatory in nature. They can make a prey out of other insect, right? Other insects can be a prey for the insect. Like say, if I say a dragonfly, right? Dragonfly is a certain kind of predator of certain aphids, right? And wasps. They are released into, or when they are naturally present in that particular farm, they predate on certain other small insects and eat them, and that is how they control the population of the other insects which are pests to the certain plants, right? Then certain studies are done on the parasitic abilities of insect. Certain insects are there which are parasitic in nature, right? Even one of the deadliest disease called say trypanosoma or a bubonic plague, right? These are being spread by certain kind of insects as a vector, like bubonic plague, right? It is being spread by rat. We all know there is a rat flea, right? Rat flea is there, who is a carrier for the bacteria, right, to transfer from one host to another host, right? So this rat flea works as a vector for the spread of this disease. Then certain lice is there, right, which often is present on the kids' bigger hair, right? They suck the blood, blood sucking kind of insects. These are lice, right? These are parasitic in nature. They are also, then one more is there called which causes sleeping sickness, right? One more kind of fly is there which causes sleeping sickness. That is also a parasitic fly. That is called saxifly, right? This causes a kind of a disease in humans and other animals, that is called sleeping sickness, right? This is spread by this particular fly, right? Then apart from it, certain insects are productive in nature. Certain insects are productive in nature, right? Like honeybee. Honeybee, we all know that it can be very productive. It produces honey, and apart from that, it has the additional benefit of pollination, which is very important, right? Insects are responsible for the pollination also. The insects are the basic creatures which are responsible for the pollination of the flowers, right? Which is a very important phenomenon, right? So this is also a property. Then apart from that, as I told you, they can be used in one example is honeybee here, honeybee, and one more example is the production of the say silk production, silk production is also done by a certain kind of insect called Bombyx mori, right? So silk production, honeybee production, this is called apiculture, right? These are also very important field of study in entomology. Apart from it, biological control. And plus IPM. Apart from it, the biological control studies and IPM based studies, that is integrated pest management strategies, also utilizes the insect and their properties. Biological control, as I told you, in case of certain predatory activities shown by certain insects, like certain insects are there which can eat other insects, right? That particular property or the parasitic ability, that is an insect can be a parasite to other insect also. These properties can be utilized to control certain pests, right? And that is called the biological control, right? Without the use of say chemical insecticides, these predatory or parasitic insects can control the other insects which are present in the higher amount, right? Which are unnecessary or they are doing certain kind of damage to the crops. They can be controlled by certain predatory or parasitic insects. One of the prominent example of biological control is called parasitoids. Parasitoids are immature staged insects of certain predatory or parasitic nature, right? Which goes into the say other host insects and live there and eat them, take nutrition from them, right? These parasitoids are parasites to the other insect. They go there, live there, eat the food there, they become mature, and then they go off. And in that time, they kind of damage the host insects in which they live, right? So one of the examples is Trichogramma. Right? Trichogramma is an insect. In its parasitoid stage, immature stages, they are kept, or they live in other particular insects, right? We will discuss this case study in detail. They live in other insects, they take nutrition from them. When these parasites become mature, they leave that particular insect and go. While in this meantime, they damage that particular insects, right? So these parasitoids deliberately are released into the field to control certain pests, right? So these kind of strategies are used in approaches like integrated pest management. Integrated pest management is nothing but a suitable atmosphere provided to a field where less amount of chemicals or pesticides can be used and more amount of biological control methods can be utilized, so that a pest population can be reduced to the minimum, right? That is called integrated pest management. There are different techniques of integrated pest management which we will discuss, but the basic idea is that integrated pest management utilizes biological control methods, chemical control methods, right? In a particular and the crop conditions also, right? These certain cumulative effect can cause a pest to be at the minimum stage without using excessive amount of pesticides. Right? This approach is called integrated pest management, and in integrated pest management, role of insects are immense. Apart from these ones, the role of entomology also is in one more new term is has come, which is called forensic entomology. Forensic entomology is also an extensive field of study. It is not very recent, but it's a term that is now recently in 70s and 80s. This particular study has been started in France, I think. So, what does basically forensic entomology means? It means to study a particular dead matter, right? If a matter is dead, suppose a dead body is there, in how much time the body is decaying, right? It can be indicated by the growth of insect which is developing there as a scavenger or as a parasite or as it is taking the nutrition from that particular body, that source, right? It is going from egg, pupa, larval, or maybe say nymph stages there, right? So according to the stages or maturity of the insect, it can be told, right, that how much time it has been completed for the decaying of the body of this particular person or this particular creature or animal or whatever it is, right? So forensic entomology is also a branch of science which we will discuss in the coming lectures, right? So this lecture included the basics of classification of insect, certain criteria of insects, body appendages, right? What are head, abdomen and thorax? We will discuss these head, abdomen and thorax in detail now, right? The morphology, internal structure we will discuss of the insect, classification of insects we will discuss, and what basis classifications are done. These things we will discuss in the future lecture. Hope this lecture has been a beneficial lecture for you. Thank you so much.